Hey, it's Josh with Map Effects, and in today's video I want to walk you through how you can add subtle detail along your coastlines to add cliffs and just give it a lot more dimension and texture to really help your fantasy maps stand out. So let's start mapping. So we have our coastline all drawn out with a couple of rivers flowing into it. And I want to show you how you could really easily just add a little bit of detail all along the edges of the river and the coastline that'll really make your map pop. So the thing that I like to look for first is these inside corners. You can see them right here. And all that we're going to do is we're just going to draw a little bit of a dotted line up and onto the landscape. And this just creates a little bit of a sense of overlap. See, I'm just kind of looking for every one of these inside corners, and since it's kind of jutting out this way, I'm having the dotted line go up and more this way, as if this is kind of a rolling hill that's all connected. So it would come up on this side. And since the land is kind of pointing this way, with this line we're going to come a little bit more towards the viewer. Just like that. And you can just keep doing the same thing all up the rivers. You can really see that this is subtle at this point, but it's just that little extra something that will help your map to stand out. Oftentimes it's the little things that, when totaled together, make a pretty big difference. You can see I'm being a little bit more subtle on the ones up here because it's a little bit narrow, a little bit more narrow stream. So you don't want it to stand out too much. And if you want, you can go a little bit further up the coastline, or excuse me, up onto the land with your dotted line. Bring it up a little further. Okay, so that's kind of the first step. What we're going to do now is come back and kind of draw almost some subtle cliffs along the edges of this coastline. So let's start here, and you can kind of start up from the shoreline a little bit and just follow the edge of the shoreline, and you're just using a thin broken line on a few of these points. See, look how much that's standing out now, just with really simple detail. We're really not doing much, but it's having a pretty dramatic effect. And if you want to, you can draw some lines that are kind of tapering down to the water line. It gives it a little bit more of that cliff look. And you can draw some details up here. I like to keep this a little bit more subtle on this side of the shoreline because technically it's facing away from the viewer, but you can draw a little bit more details on this side because you would see a little bit more of this edge, except for like on a point here that juts out a little bit. Then you can get away with adding some more detail on that side as well. And you don't have to do this the whole way. You know, you can just kind of dot it throughout. Just add a little bit of texture, and especially these narrow spots, you don't want to go too crazy with it. You can really emphasize it more on these areas that are clearly facing the viewer. Right? I'm drawing some more of those vertical lines going down to the water. Okay. And that's pretty much all there is to it. You can see how much more dimension this whole map has now that you've added these cliffs and these little dotted lines that are kind of just conveying a little bit of depth and overlap. And you can obviously bring it up onto the shore and add a little bit of tufts of grass and blend it up into your mountain ranges or your hills or whatever you want to do. But this is just a good way, a really simple way to just kind of make your shorelines pop and stand out a bit. I hope you found this helpful, and I look forward to seeing your map.